Welcome to the second in the series of the.
Hello everyone, good day according to your time. Welcome back to Learning Institute. Hope you guys are doing well. Please, if you are seeing my channel for the first time, don't forget to subscribe and kindly hit on the notification button. Yes, guys, and kindly follow my page as you do that. God will bless you. And I really want to thank you all for subscribing to Learning is the Key. You have done well, and God will bless you. You know that I love you. Even if I don't know you, God loves you more. So, darling, let me tell you this. Today, I really want to bring this to you because it is really important for you to know that decision that the Nigerians, they are going to take all over the world, because I'm saying all over the world because there are some Nigerian men that we really love to go back to Nigeria. Because why? They are men, you understand, they are no women. I normally say it like a woman can go anywhere with her husband, but the husband, where will he go? He will go back to his father's land. So let me quickly tell you the reason why I'm bringing you this update is for you to know what's going on right now in Nigeria, and how the people that are, like the people that want to become the candidates, they are preparing for it, and they have what they call the bad, in Italian language they call it like confronto, no? They have it, so they have time to like to give it to each other, to they be asking them questions, and each and everyone we're telling their own part, how they intend to secure Nigeria. And this is not the first it's not the first appointment they have had so far. This is the second one. So I will give it to you. You guys know that I'll be fun to Arise News. So I will give it to you the way the video is. Please, I quickly want to tell you that I'm giving you this updates because it is important. So watch out, guys, and I hope to see you in my next updates. And guys, for those of you that live in Europe, I will be doing another video tonight to tell you about what is happening between France, Germany, and Italy right now. A lot of crisis is going on, and we do not know the reason, but one thing we know that it's involved immigrants. You understand? So if you get it, maybe you will start understanding why all these things is really going on, because a lot of people, they are tired of the misconduct. Milano Centrale is full. Parma's train station is full, Reggio, Modena, and according to other places like Brescia, they say that they are, So for that simple reasons, they are like worried and they want to change something in their country. But is this how they should go about it?
Arise News Town Hall, supported by CDD and most of Nigeria's mainstream media. It's a privilege to introduce the candidates for today's series, who are also laying claims to the presidency of the Federal Republic of Nigeria in 2023. 2023, as has been said, is a different election. And it looks to me that all votes will matter and all parties may matter ultimately. So we start with my good friend, the activist, Omosh Yele Showore of the African Action Congress. Please come right in. And then we have Engineer Yagbagi Sadi of the Action Democratic Party. Of course, we have a man whose brother or whose uncle was vice presidential candidate to Obafemi Awolowo in those days. So another Umiadi, Professor Peter Umiadi of the ABGA. And of course, we have Prince Adewole Adebayo of SDP. You are welcome. The stage is set. The town hall begins now with our two anchors, Rufai Hosseini and Leila Johnson Salami. Thank you.
Thank you very much to the chairman of the This Day and Arise Group, Prince Nduka Obaibana, and a very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Arise Presidential Town Hall series on security and the economy. This is the second of a number of town halls to come as we approach the 2023 elections in less than 3 months' time. I'm Leila Johnson Salami, here today with Rufai Hosseini.
Pleasure to be here, Leila, and good to be working with you. The Town Hall series is organized in collaboration with the Center for Democracy Development, and our partners include Premium Times, the Nigerian Guild of Editors, the Nigerian Union of Journalists, NUJ, the Guardian newspaper, Daily Trust newspaper, Leadership newspaper, the Cable newspaper, New Telegraph newspaper, we've got Vanguard newspaper, the Sun newspaper, and Nigerian Fact Checkers Coalition.
This evening is an opportunity for presidential candidates to share their views and engage with the public on topics of concern to Nigerians. 4 presidential candidates are here with us this evening, introduced already and seated on the stage. We have the candidates of the African Action Congress, Mr. Omoyele Sowore. Good evening, sir. We have the candidates of the Action Democratic Party, Engineer Yabagi Sani. Very good evening to you, sir. The candidates of the All Progressives Grand Alliance, Professor Peter Omwedi. Very good evening to you, sir, who is also a former chief judge. And the candidate of the Social Democratic Party, Prince Adewale Adebayo. A very good evening to you as well, sir. Our panelists this evening include the lead consultant, or rather journalist, and also policy experts, Mr. Waziri Adio. And we are also joined this evening by Kemi Okeodo, the Executive Director of Partners West Africa. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Right, before we get started, we have some general house rules that we need to run through. This is a town hall meeting and not a debate. Therefore, there are no direct rebuttals from the candidates. No clapping or cheering from the audience going forward. As candidates speak, we ask that other candidates are respectful and no interruptions. We ask that you are respectful of the timekeeper's rules. There shall be a timekeeper who will alert you when you have 30 seconds to go, and at the end of time, allotted to each response.
Today, Premium Times Nigeria will be fact-checking claims that are made by the presidential candidates during the first half of this town hall, while the Nigeria Fact Checkers Coalition, NFC, which brings together fact-checking organizations in the country, including Africa Check, CJID Daily Trust, Dubawa, Facts Matter NG, ICIR, The Cable, Fact Check Hub, The Insights, Digital Africa Research Lab, Premium Times, and CDD will be fact-checking the second half of this town hall. Candidates are advised to be conscious of the claims that they make during the course of the conversation, please. And a group photo of all candidates will take place at the end of the program. Without further ado, let's get started. And we'd like to start by opening the floor to each candidate to introduce themselves. Candidates, you have 3 minutes to give your opening remarks, your commencement remarks on your national security plan. You have 3 minutes to do this. Please note that the timekeeper will alert you when you have 30 seconds to go. Mr. Omoyele Sowore, let's start with you, sir.
Thank you and good evening for inviting me here tonight. I must state that last week should have been the day we should all be here. But for some reasons, you decided to invite the elites within the presidential race. And we think you owe us an apology for that, because Nigeria should stop bringing people who have no ideas to talk to Nigerians when those who have ideas are relegated to the background. That is where we have gotten it wrong all these years. My name is Omoyele Sowore, and I'm here as an activist for over 32 years, 3 decades, fighting for the rights of Nigerians, my own rights, and a desire to make this country work for everybody. The things that I fought for when I was in my 20s at the University of Lagos as a freshman that were not addressed are the reason why Nigeria has refused to move and make progress to today, especially in the area of security and insecurity, as we are here to discuss tonight, and the economy. I was one of the young students who said in 1989 and 1990 that the economic policy that Nigeria had adopted, which is known as the Structural Adjustment Program, was going to destroy Nigeria. It was at that period that the IMF and the World Bank said we can no longer fund housing, we can't fund education, we can't fund anything that will bring the welfare of our people at par with the rest of the world. It was at that period that they destroyed the industrial base of this country so that they can prepare Nigeria as a dumping ground for Western companies. It was at that time that the insecurity that we are experiencing today started. Nobody should deceive us that our insecurity has one reason. The special factors where Nigeria is insecure today is because Nigeria refused to invest in its youth, in its people, when it mattered the most. As a matter of fact, when they had a chance to do it, they wasted the opportunity by staging what is known as FESTAC, Festival of Arts and Culture, where Nigeria decided that they had too much money. They don't know what to do with it. So they invited the whole world to a feast in Lagos, known as FESTAC. Subsequently, after that, we kept failing our people. And as of today, Nigeria is reaping from what it refused to do. As of today, Nigeria is not only insecure, it has become one of the most insecure countries in the world, in which even its security officers are no longer secure. Last week, the wife of one of Nigeria's top officials in the security sector was abducted. Our president was threatened by bandits and terrorists. And I don't know if he's back in the country, but he left the country at the time the country needed him the most to take care of himself. It is time to take care of Nigeria security by ensuring that we put social security at the back of all policies for the citizens of Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Please, once again, we appreciate you. We know you have support for the candidates on the stage, but the rules are the rules. No clapping, please. Thank you. Well, like Engineer Yabaga Sani of the African Action Democratic Party to please step forward and give us a summary, of his journey thus far by introducing himself to us.
I can stand up.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Your Excellencies, the organizers of this very important engagement, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Engineer Yabagi Yusuf Sani. I was born in Bida. I schooled in Bida and Kontagora, all in Niger State. I attended Kontagora Secondary Technical School. In 1974, I got admission into Institute of Technology in New York. After 2 years in Institute of Technology in New York, I transferred to Columbia University, also in New York. While I was in Columbia University, I studied industrial and management engineering and operations research. Take note of that because it's very important, it's relevant to why I'm here today. My education prepared me very well to engage effectively with social problems, economic problems, and if you like, political problems. As an industrial engineering that's also studied operations research. When I came back to Nigeria, I got employed, but I got employment with NMPC. That is after my NYC, and I spent about 3 years in NMPC, and I resigned my appointment. I resigned my appointment because I did not like the kind of disorganization I saw in that organization that I believe was a promise of greatness for this country. When I resigned my appointment with NNPC, I founded a company called Fuel Vouchers Nigeria Limited, which was to introduce the cashless transaction beginning from the oil transaction in Nigeria. And like I said, while I was in NNPC, I noticed two things. One was the fact that the structural organization NNPC was not meant to serve Nigerians. And I discovered that I had something that I could do, but I couldn't do it within. So when I left NNPC and I founded Fuel Vouchers Nigeria Limited, I also was able to establish another company that was to introduce the issue of transparency and accountability, which is what we are battling with today. So insecurity, we can't get insecurity in Nigeria if the company that earns the largest income for this country is so arbitrarily managed. So all our problems can be traced to the economic arrangement in this country. It can be traced to the kind of leadership we have had all along. It can be traced to the fact that in the security outfit, we do not have what is called the standard and the policy of application of our security organization and the method of fighting insecurity.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Thanks, Engineer Sani.
Yeah.
Let's please move on to Professor Peter Omoyadi. We would like to hear from you, sir, with regards to your national security plan for Nigeria. Please be reminded that you have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. I thank Arise for bringing me here tonight. My name is Peter Omoyadi. I'm the presidential candidate for All Progressive Grand Alliance, APGA. Now, APGA puts it this way, that we are starting afresh. And APGA says that everything we're going to do will rest squarely on social progress. What we mean is that every Nigerian should have the opportunity of getting to the maximum of his or her potential. And then you talk about our country and you talk about insecurity. I've said many times, you don't treat issues of security with kid gloves. What keeps a country going, every other society, are sanctions. When you don't enforce sanctions, you don't expect security, and you don't expect progress. It's been said, my uncle of blessed memory, I like speaking about him, and he's my friend. We talk, and he told me about this story, about a man who said on his first day in office, in power, on a crime-ridden, corrupt security situation, he will invite the head of police into his office and ask him to put his badge on the table and walk out because his job is determined. And he will go down the line to see a worthy police officer and hand over the badge. Because if you fix the police, you fix security, especially in Nigeria. And that's what we need to do. And I tell you this, you can't fix the police when the police are out there collecting bribes on a daily basis. You can't fix the police when there's police checkpoints and army checkpoints and they have civilians attached to them, especially in the southeast, collecting money on their behalf in broad daylight. There's no way you're going to be in the metal to do your work as a security officer. Let's go back to Spartan. You say a Spartan dies but never surrenders. Spartan, with their exploits in military times, rested on discipline. If you are not disciplined, you can't enforce security. And that is why the things that are happening, and all the old farmers are chased out by bandits who used to hold canes to, head their cows, suddenly got to AK-47, and nobody is taking responsibility for that. And you're talking about security.
Okay, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. We'd like to call on next Prince Adewale Adebayo of the Social Democratic Party, the SDP. You have the floor.
On what topic?
Yes. An overview, your security plan, economic plan, and little introduction.
Thank you. I'm Adewale Adebayo. I'm 50 years old. I'm a lawyer, licensed in Nigeria, in the US. I'm practicing in many countries. I'm a chartered arbitrator. And I am the presidential candidate of the SDP. And by the way, I align myself with the sentiment expressed by Mr. Showore of the AAC regarding the role of the media. I believe that the media, the way the media helped the fight for independence, the media helped to get rid of the military, the media still has a role to play in helping us to midwife our democracy. That the media should be seen as a catalyst that is allowing ideas to flow. With respect to the security situation in Nigeria, there are two components to it. Security generally discussed deals with public safety and general feeling of lack of fear or instability. With respect to public safety, we've made three mistakes which we need to correct. One, we have the wrong architecture for crime prevention. We need to ensure that any organ of government that has a power to legislate should have a power to enforce. Therefore, if you see, many of the crimes that we cry about are actually state crimes: murder, kidnapping, banditry. But those states don't have the power to enforce their own law. So we need to deal with that. I'm going to get that right. Secondly, if you look at the journey of our journey into insecurity, the first major one was during the Civil War. We had so many innocent people exposed to warfare. And the army was not careful enough in mopping up the arms. And what happened was that we had armed robbery. And the way military would do their thing, they passed the armed robbery tribunal, firearm tribunal. At the end of the day, we didn't get rid of that. Then, as we're going towards the end of military rule, the military did three things. The entire military combined together to weaken the police, because the military didn't want the police to be able to stop them from taking power all the time. So they weakened the police. Shagari tried to address it with Adewusi, with the Second Republic, but he didn't have enough time. Second thing that happened was that the army weakened the Air Force. After the scary coups that they were having among themselves, so the army was working to weaken the Air Force. So we don't have the air cover. The third thing that happened was that when we came to civilian rule, the civilians who came also became a little jittery and entirely weakened the entire military without investing in the military. So what I'm going to do is to reinvent the architecture, ensure that at local level and state level we have law enforcement. Then the Air Force is able to give air cover and ensure that intelligence, which is warehoused in the office of the NSA, is depoliticized, and that we can combine all of this together. You have a strong architecture, and you will see that it will improve.
Okay, thank you so much. So we will start with the questions now, deeply on security. And this will cut across all the candidates. It's a question about what you will do if you are president. Only last Tuesday, INEC said 242 polling units with 142,261 registered voters in 10 local government areas of Katsina State are under serious attacks, serious threats for the elections. This could have implications on the elections and disrupting our democratic process. If you were Omoyele Sowore, Nigeria's next president, how do you intend to address the widespread insecurity in the country?
Job of the president of a nation is for the president to be the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. That we don't have in this country as of today. What you have is a rogue system of security in which everybody is doing what they like. And other elements within government use whichever security agencies they have to carry out their own nefarious activities, sabotaging the Nigerian people. That's one statement of fact we must tell ourselves. The second aspect of it is that I am not Nigeria's president today. If I had been voted for in 2019, you would not be talking about places being taken over, because I have divided the security problems in Nigeria into three. One is the usual enforcement, physical security. The second aspect of it is collection of intelligence, analysis of intelligence, and execution of intelligence. But you can only collect intelligence if you have intelligent people running intelligence organizations. I was detained at the DSS for 5 months. They were there watching BB Niger instead of collecting intelligence, analyzing them, and using that to stop terrorists and bandits. I was there when they recruited them to go to Kogi State, and I'm stating facts here, to go and rig election for the current governor of Kogi State. You cannot run a country like that and expect to be safe when your intelligence officers who are supposed to collect intelligence are not doing it. But one thing we must state categorically before I announce what I will do about this, is that Nigeria has to resolve the problem of inequality, hunger, poverty, before we can be talking about using guns. It has been known that countries that are doing well economically usually or rarely even use guns because their citizens are happy. When you're not happy and people have been cheated over time, you will not get solution to this problem. But to not talk about what I would have done in Katsina, is that we have always known that Katsina was under siege. And don't let us deceive ourselves. Katsina is not the only state that is under siege. Kaduna, southern Kaduna is under siege. Sokoto is under siege. Zamfara is under siege. The Niger Delta region is under siege. Why are we behaving as if it's only in Katsina that elections will not happen? Let us tell ourselves the truth. I'm not sure that we can have about 25% of the land mass of Nigeria hold free and fair elections in 2023 the way we are going. And it doesn't matter how hard we try. We've spoken to INEC about it. INEC itself is not sure. Ogun State last week, the INEC office was burned down with all the voters' cards there. They said they're going to reprint new ones. Who knows how they're going to go about it? So we have to be proactive in ensuring that these crimes are caught before they happen, and that we have security agencies that are capable of dealing with security, and most importantly, that you have a head of state that is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, and not the one commanding from the back.
Okay. We'll move on to, once again, please, no clapping. Those are the rules. We'll move on to Engineer Yabagasani. Same question. If you were president, what would you do as regards the insecurity in the country, 10 local governments in Katsina State, and other parts of the country with threats here and there? What would you do?
Well, in any government at all, if you don't have rule of law, applied in governance, what you have is arbitrariness. And you have cases of issues like nepotism, corruption, and no matter how effective the government may be, the machinery may be, if you have people having a sense of marginalization, they don't feel that they belong. Take, for instance, our security outfit today. Unfortunately, it's lopsided in terms of the leadership that you have in the security outfit. And that itself introduces some kind of, people not applying themselves in the manner that they're supposed to. So, as a president, I will govern with rule of law. And that means that nobody will be above the law. And that will mean that the security agencies will work in a manner that they will share information, they will gather intelligence, they will process it in the manner that it's supposed to process, and it will be applied in order to ensure that when there's an incident, you are able to act effectively. What is happening to us in this country is that, one, there's government, but hardly can you see evidence of governance. And if you do not have issues dealt with dispatch, definitely what you find is a anarchy in the country. So I will be very, very effective in dealing with issues of insecurity. I will deal with the issue of poverty, like Shawale has said. poverty is one thing that diminishes, the citizens. They will not be able to live up to their responsibilities because security is not just for the agencies themselves, security agencies, everybody's supposed to be involved. And if you don't have information provided by the citizens to the security agencies because there's a loss of confidence because of corruption that is in the system itself, then what you find is a deteriorating situation no matter how much you try. So poverty has to be dealt with. The issue of people identifying and feeling that they belong is also an important aspect in governance. So I think once I can deal with these two things, then you will be able to tackle the issue of security in this country.
Thank you so much for your time. Next, we move on to Professor Peter Omerdi of the All Progressive Grand Alliance, APGA. INEC has said 242 polling units with 142,261 registered voters. We also had the case of Abeokuta INEC Center attacks all over the country. As Commander-in-Chief, Professor Omerdi, what would you do?
That is the word, as Commander-in-Chief. I don't know why anyone wants to become president and then begin to delegate powers that he has gotten in a vote that he has won. If I'm president, I'm going to steep myself into the work, and I'm going to get those reports directly, and I'm going to find out what is going there on a second-to-second basis. That is very important. And that's why I say it's about the layout, it's about the discipline, it's about the structure of security that we have in the country, but most importantly, it's about the leadership. That is why you see all over the world, one leader is in a very important event overseas, and something happens in his home country, he aborts that visit overseas, gets on the next plane, and gets home. Because he has to be in direct contact with what is happening in his home country. And that is the only way to get these things done. Because there are a lot of buck passing, if you understand what I'm saying. People always shift blames in our country. People always find who didn't do what right. But is that what I'm going to listen to as the Commander-in-Chief? No, I want results. And I give you a time to get it done. And I'm there waiting for you to bring back your report to me. And everybody will have to prove his pay at the end of the day. So, you see, because I said it before on a television interview on Arise, that I do not know why a policeman will run away from an armed robber. The anchor said to me, because the armed robbers are better armed than the police. And I pushed back. Why should the armed robber be better armed than the police? That is the issue. You don't do such a thing. So you have to get your act together and make sure that, in other words, there is one state. If the state does not prevail, it has gone under. Nothing should stop elections or whatever activity from going on in any part of the country because somebody has seized that place and has, been shooting guns and burning places, and then you won't take the activity you have. In fact, overseas, I've seen them cordon the White House. At the end, it wasn't accessible to tourists as it used to be, but you could see the extent of it. Here, the police formations across the country have been blocked entirely. In Oka, you have to go through the village to get where you're going, because that is extent of fear that even the security officers have.
Thank you so much, Professor Peter Omerdi, for your time. We move on to Prince Adewale Adebayo of the Social Democratic Party. With all the challenges we've got in Nigeria as regards insecurity, it's staring at us in the face, like INEC disclosed, that elections, holding elections might be difficult under this security climate. 242 polling units in Katsina and other parts of the country. As Commander-in-Chief, this was brought to your notice. What would you do?
First, as Commander-in-Chief, I am the one to bring it to the notice of INEC, not INEC bringing it to my notice. I'm in charge of security, for God's sake. The first thing we need to know is that the political elite, they are very good with scaremongering. They like to frighten you anytime election is coming. They are burning somewhere, turning somewhere. That's just arson. A state has a commissioner of police, director of state security, fire service, commandant general, whatever. That's a local issue for them. Because if you are having arson of that magnitude, intelligence will catch up with you. Even those days, the Native Authority Police will handle that immediately. Insurance company used to have people who go after arsonists, even insurance company. So what is happening here is this. You can have elections, and somebody is put there, and it doesn't end up forming a government. Remember that recently we had 6 months in which after swearing in, there was no cabinet. What is happening is that even when the cabinet is set up, it's just a nominal cabinet because they don't do the function. What we need to understand is that the insecurity in this country stays and starts from the villa. Everything you see outside, if you put a proper commander-in-chief in place, and they're not using security as a way to compensate people, they are managing the security architecture well. What we call big crimes in Nigeria are very minimal. So the problem in the country is this, and I'm going to fix it as follows. One, you have to ensure that you do not bring political activists, supporters, into the security architecture. Right now, that's where most money goes, and that's why they bring all kinds of incompetent. People who got fired for incompetence in their career get brought back to come and manage this money. And instead of facing the issue of insecurity and collaborating with one another, what they do is that they fight one another for budget. So even this one of trying to manage against arson and all of that to ensure that elections hold, they will not cooperate. They will be fighting about who's going to control the money. That's what the problem is. Last week or so, I was with the president in Owerri when the police were doing their planning for the election. I listened attentively, and I discovered that the president came there, didn't give them any direction, cut the tape and gave a few speeches, disappeared. And at the end of the day, you see that there's nothing that's been done. What I'm going to do, therefore, is to ensure that you form a proper government, you run the services. These are small problems, and we can deal with them, I can assure you.
Thank you, Prince Adebayo. We are now going to turn to our panelists. Our panelists this evening will be proposing questions to our presidential candidates. Candidates, please note that for this round, you have 2 minutes to answer the questions given to you by the panelists. And we will start off with Mr. Waziri Adio, a journalist, policy expert, and founder of Agora Policy. Mr. Waziri, over to you, please.
Thank you very much. This question is for all the candidates. I heard a policy think tank called Agora Policy, and it released a report on understanding and tackling insecurity in Nigeria. And that report identified the drivers of insecurity in Nigeria, and some of the things that it identified as the drivers include inappropriate security architecture, easy access to arms and drugs, porous borders, and grievances and so many other things. So as Commander-in-Chief, what will you do to address specific things that you're going to do to address the drivers of insecurity in Nigeria? Thank you.
Mr. Omoyele Sowore, let's start with you, please.
Thank you, Waziri. Waziri was a student of the University of Lagos when I was president of the University of Lagos. Together, we delivered democracy to Nigeria in the 90s, eventually. So it's good to see you. And I want to say that what you've stated are the same things I have been addressing, that inequality drives insecurity, corruption drives insecurity, lack of borders. I stated it recently that one of the most bizarre policies of this current government was the closure of borders. You cannot close what does not exist. Nigeria doesn't have borders. And I can state it categorically because I used to be a border rat. That is to say, I sneak into Nigeria and outside Nigeria, not as a smuggler, but because I was wanted by the government for a long time. There are houses in Ogun State that the back is Nigeria, the front is Benin Republic. Just walk through, you are in Nigeria. Walk back, you are Benin Republic. So you don't have a homeland security strategy. And the reason why our security architecture is not effective is part of what we've been saying when you put in competent people to manage a country of 200 million people, which is not based on their experience or competence in these very important areas. The result you get is what we have now. And I hope Prince Adewale is not saying that the political activist is not good. I'm a political activist, you know, don't compare me with Kenyamo and the rest of them. This country is in need of a political activist president who understands activism and politics for the sake and for the good of the people of Nigeria. So all of these are things that can be addressed equally. But what you have not mentioned, because you worked at 90, is that oil companies are owing us $6.4 billion they haven't paid in debts. If they paid us, we wouldn't have to be running to China to be borrowing money. And that will show
Mr.
our own local security.
Your time is up, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Engineer Sani, over to you, please.
The issue of insecurity cannot be separated from the poverty, that has been visited on Nigerians. And the issue of corruption, like I've always said, it's endemic, especially if you look at the two sectors of the economy that matter in how to govern a nation. You look at the armed forces, you look at the major sector of the economy. And when you're looking at major sector of the economy today, you cannot but look at NNPC. And unfortunately for us today in this country, the two sectors that matter are under the Commander-in-Chief, which is Mr. President. And in those sectors, you have endemic corruption. So even the money to now fund the security outfit so that they can be effective is stolen, in a manner that you wonder whether these are Nigerians, whether they even understand the fact that there is God and they will account, after they have finished their time here. And what I'm saying is that you need to have a working security architecture. You have to have a policy. You have to have the standards of application of your policy. To do what? One is to avoid risks, to identify threats, and then to take action when there's an incident. That is missing in Nigeria's security outfit. And it's missing because of corruption. Because there is nobody that is in charge effectively. Nobody has been punished for all these things. No matter how much money you put there, if you do not have discipline in the security. We've heard of cases of service chiefs that have stolen so much money, people have come out, and then what happened? They were rewarded with appointments, instead of being punished. So how, in that sense, can you get security in the country? So this is where we must begin, to be able to govern, and then govern, like I said, rule of law will be our mantra. Because if you have rule of law, everybody now, will comply.
Your time is up, sir.
The same,
Thank you.
Rules applied.
Professor Mwadi, I'd like to come to you now to answer Mr. Waziri Adio's question, please, sir.
Thank you. I would honestly say, let us not shy away from the question of insecurity itself. Overwhelm insecurity. Then you begin to talk about the ancillary issues of what else causes it. In other words, the direct confrontation of getting to an old woman, an old man who is farming, and deal with him and make him run away from his farm. So where is government? Who is coming to stop that from repeating? That's it. Let's tackle insecurity head on. Let's win the war. Let's be on top of the situation. Then we can begin to talk about ancillary issues. You talk about porous borders, and we'll talk about not knowing where the border actually is. It's because we have not been sincere You see, going forward, if Nigeria wants to be a strong nation, we have to define ourselves and say, okay, it doesn't matter. If I'm president, I will say, let's start from whoever that is here. I had a friend. When I left school, I went to see him at Idiroko. He was in customs. And he took me to the border. He said to me, Peter, well, let me not say exactly what he said for decency. But he said, put anything in the bag. Anything, just put it in the bag. I'll cross it here for you. That is through the custom border. Not to talk about, like I said, the numerous tracks that people access day and night. That's at Idiroko. We hear what is happening in the north. It doesn't exist. So, but is that how a country should be run? We are not sincere. So we have to draw a line somewhere and then get on the head of what is the problem. And then when you've done with that, you
Professor
begin to do the
Omorabi,
rest.
Your time is up, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Last but not least, Prince Adebayo, over to you.
Okay, there are 5 things we need to do, and we can get the rest straight. 1, we should stop using law enforcement to solve political problems. So there's no reason why Nnamdi Kanu should be facing DSS or police. His problem is political. So stop using political solutions and making them look like law enforcement. Because of lack of truth and lack of justice in this country is creating tension. But a good head of state will apply political solutions. Remember, there was a time the army was fighting with the thief in the First Republic. It never resolved anything. The Republic collapsed. So we deal with that. Secondly, the government itself has to know that you can't have a lot of ungoverned spaces in the country. Yesterday, I was at Mubi. I went to the border with Cameroon. I came down to Song Hong, all the way down. I didn't see the Nigerian army until I got to Jalo Cantonment in Yola. So, and if you go to Magadali, there's a warfare going on there. So I look at that sector, it shows to me that the footprint of the army is very thin. Third point, if you look at the community, I had meeting with community leaders all over Adamawa State. Within the community, they had solutions to their problem. I spoke with the emir, I spoke with the vigilante people. So there's anything that is confusing us here in the elite class does not confuse them. They show me their defense mechanism. They show me why they were able, because I was sitting down and eating at a place where Boko Haram had its headquarters. And I was asking them, how can you be here? They said, this is what we do. The fourth thing we need to do is to ensure that those who are in government do not enjoy proceeds of insecurity until you address that, because that's where they have all their billions coming from. Until you address that, and as Commander-in-Chief, I will address that effectively. I will not do my politics using security money, which is what they do now. That is where I start showing leadership, and I will not bring politicians into the security architecture to raise money for the next election. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate you. We'll take the second panelist question. Kemi Okonyedo, Executive Director, Partners, West Africa. We will go straight to her for the next panel question. You've got 2 minutes, please. I'm also 2 minutes.
Okay. Thank you. From all that we've said, it seems like the security architecture as we have it is quite limited. And we're seeing the impact of that. And we've also seen at the subnational and at the regional level emergence of new security architectures in the likes of the Ebubeagus and the likes of the Amotekus. Do you think these structures need to come under one platform? And if yes, what are your plans in bringing all the structures together? If no, why?
Thank you. Mr. Omoyele Sowore, you go first.
Thank you. We do not need to bring any security architecture that is extra-legal at this point under any umbrella. I think what the states are telling us is that Nigeria is ripe for that restructuring we've been asking for. And because we delayed it, governors are acting on their own. But the creation of sometimes rogue security units would never help Nigeria. So what I would encourage us to do, and what I want to do, is to junket the 1999 constitution created by the military. let the Nigeria nation create its own military, its own constitution that is not a fraudulent document as we have now. And that constitution will address the issue of state police, address the issue of local government police, address the issue of even campus police. Every of these units should be able to have their security units. Where I live in the US, the town where I live is not up to 3,000 people. They have their own police with 7 vehicles. I'm sure they probably have more vehicles than some state police commands in Nigeria. I'm exaggerating. Fact checkers, you don't have to worry about that. Yes. But the truth is that until we fix that constitution and allow states, local governments, towns, cities to have their own security units and not the ones controlled or formed by governors who, whenever nobody's watching, we're going to use them to rig election or beat up people. Because if we do that, then we can train all of these police units in a unified way. And the federal police can intervene if they go rogue. There's no need to put them under the federal mercenary system we call security now.
All right, thank you so much for that. Engineer Yaba Gassani of the Action Democratic Party, your response to that question.
Well, I think as a government, I will not allow a situation where you have regional, police that were formed out of desperation, because why? If you do that, it's a recipe for disembankment of the country itself, because this security outfit came out of frustration. It's not something that was discussed on the basis of the need to have it as a nation. So I will not allow that to happen. What I will do is to allow the Constitution to take its course, meaning that if you look at the Constitution we have in this country, it's a living document. The National Assembly members are supposed to, whenever the need arises, do the needful, which is to either look at the exclusive legislative list of the Constitution and take what does not belong there anymore because of the time that has passed and things have changed, and put it on concurrent list, like the state police we are talking about. The National Assembly should deal effectively with that, not out of frustration. Segments of the country will now bring out their own security outfit. Those will be outfits that will be antagonizing the national security that you are trying to solve, which means it is a wrong way to go. And the way to address all these things is still issue of poverty. If we have today almost 70% of Nigerians out of job, you have another 35% that are vulnerable. You cannot have security in such an environment. So I will tackle the issue of poverty, and then tackle the issue of insecurity.
Thank you so much, Engineer Sani there. Professor Peter Omedi of APGA, 2 minutes, sir.
Yes, thank you. I support the creation of state police, which will mean amending this constitution at item number 45 in the exclusive legislative list. Down in our laws, there are room for local government police. And about the vigilantes that are coming up across the country, they should be allowed to operate. But the critical question is how they can effectively work with arms. And then that is the conundrum where headsmen have AK-47, and then people who are fashioned to secure towns and villages are denied the same. But there's something, let me put it with all respect, that I'm tinkering with. Could we give military training to people going to youth service corps 8 months out of 12 months and begin a regime to beef up our people? We are a bit too docile. And when they think they can take us for anything they want, then they can storm your home. But if you know there's a young man here who has been through military training for 8 months in his youth service, you will think twice about getting into that house. And then we'll begin to become a better, you know, a more strengthened society.
Okay.
I have more minutes. So that's where I'm looking at. So if we look at it, and then it's something to go by, then I'll go for it.
It's time up. Thank you so much for your ideas. Prince Adewale Adebayo. And before you answer, please, we'll take 2 questions from the audience for gender balance, male and female. Please, when we come to you with a microphone, no long narrative, no long explanation. Kiss it. Keep it short and simple, straight to the point, a minute each. Then we'll come back to the panel here to answer them. Please, get ready. Thank you, sir.
Let us not run away from forming a government.